Yeah, all right. We're talking about this video by One Mike Black History. He's just One Mike History. How fried chicken became a black stereotype. And what we're going to see is that it's just revisionist, ahistorical, racist nonsense. And the guy contradicts himself within the same breath. So, what do you expect from someone who calls himself a Black History channel? It's Black History, not just history, but specifically Black History. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of nonsense in there. So this is going to be all about that racist trope about how white people don't be seasoning their foods. Let's listen in.
Sky, which included fried chicken. One of the very first known written recipes of fried chicken comes in a British cookbook entitled The Art of Cookery, made plain and easy by Hannah Glass in 1747. The recipe loved by both British and the American colonies.
Okay, let me just say, this book was published in 1747, which means the recipe is probably older than that. You know, that's how things go. Things are written down long after they are disseminated, long after they've been created. So this recipe from 1747 is undoubtedly not a new thing. Let's listen to what the recipe is.
In the recipe calls to cut 2 pieces of chicken into quarters, lay them in vinegar for 2 to 4 hours with salt, pepper, a bay leaf, and cloves of garlic in very thick batter. First with a half a pint of wine and flour, then 2 egg yolks, melt a little butter, grated oregano, some chopped parsley, beat very well, dip your fowls in the batter, and fry them up in a good deal of hog lard. Wow.
Okay, let's recap there. You're gonna soak it in vinegar and salt with some pepper and a bay leaf. We'll add some cloves of garlic. Then later on, you're gonna add some wine, oregano and parsley, and some butter. That sounds like a very zesty, spicy meal. Sounds like a lot of flavor there. You got the salt, which brings out flavor. That's what salt does. That's why they put salt in food that they cook, because it brings out flavors. And then you got a little bit of pepper and a bay leaf, and then cloves of garlic, which is going to add a lot of zest. The garlic is going to add a lot of zest. Then you got wine soaked into the chicken, along with the vinegar, which is already tangy and zesty. Then you got the oregano and the parsley to round it out. Sounds like a very spicy, flavorful chicken. Well, not according to this guy.
Scottish immigrants who first introduced fried chicken to the United States, they were definitely not the ones that popularized it. That was done by Western Africans. During that time period, Western Africans were very familiar with cooking chicken, and they usually used a braising technique. However, once in America, enslaved Africans used their culinary traditions to introduce the concepts of seasoning and spices and imbued the flavor and zest into an otherwise mundane dish. See, at the time, the Scots weren't putting any seasoning in their fried chicken.
All right, did he just say the Scots weren't putting any seasoning into their fried chicken? And he just read a recipe where it said you soak it in vinegar and salt, you add some pepper and a bay leaf and some cloves of garlic, then later on you add some wine and oregano and parsley and a little bit of butter. Then you put it in the batter and then you fry it. What is he talking about? The Scots weren't using any seasoning. It was just a mundane dish. You got vinegar, salt, pepper, bay leaves, cloves of garlic, wine, oregano, parsley, butter. That's a lot of flavor right there. That's a lot of spices. When did oregano and parsley and garlic, pepper and bay leaves and salt, when did they not become a spice? When were those ever not spices? Those are spices. Those are spices. Just because it's not a big box of Lowry's, it's not a big box of Lowry's salt you can just shake on your chicken. I mean, these are spices. For him to say that the Scottish weren't using spices and seasonings and that African slaves introduced the concept of spices and seasonings, it's totally ridiculous. Does he know that the age of exploration was all about spices? Does he know that the Spanish and the Portuguese all went to Southeast Asia looking for spices? That's something called the Spice Islands, and then they brought it back to Europe? Holy moly, like white people don't season their food, they ain't got no spices? And just like I said, he read it off. Vinegar, salt, pepper, bay leaves, cloves of garlic, wine, oregano, and parsley. There's spices in there. It's not a mundane meal. You don't just kill the chicken, take off the meat, and then throw it into the fry with no spices. No, you prepare it. As he said, 2 to 3 hours, sitting in the vinegar with salt, so it soaks it up. So anyway, this guy's just lying. He's a liar. I don't know why he wants to lie about it, about something so simple as spices. something so uncontroversial as white people seasoned their food. White people conquered the world to get spices to season their food. And the Scottish were undoubtedly seasoning their chicken with spices: vinegar, salt, pepper, bay leaves, cloves of garlic, wine, oregano, and parsley. You know, several of those are spices, namely the pepper, the bay leaves, the cloves of garlic, and the oregano and parsley. I mean, what does he want? What does he want? Why is he lying about this? Just because you didn't buy it from the store and you could dump it in your thing? I mean, it's ridiculous. This is a ridiculous channel, and just from listening to this, I can tell that this so-called Black History channel is just going to teach a lot of nonsense. And you know what? I looked through the comments, and I didn't see a single person bring it up. You know, I didn't look through all the comments. I didn't see all of them, but maybe somebody brings it up. But this guy goes from one breath saying that the Scots had this recipe where they use spices, to saying the Africans introduced the concept of spices and seasoning because the Scots weren't seasoning their food. It's ridiculous. It's a lie. And I'm sick of this whole white people don't season their food stuff. It's just dumb. And so is this guy. Bye.